This is the Learn to Trade online show where experts talk about their trading journeys and help traders make more money unlocking the world of online Forex, crypto and indices traders. We tell it like you want to hear it. Unfiltered insights, no corners cut. My name's Paul Botterill and I'm the founder of Actions to Wealth and Online Trading Profits.
And I'm Ash Bull, a professional investor and trader.
Today we're going to be talking about our experience of day one of the IFTA conference 2023 in Jakarta. We've been over since yesterday to attend this. We've got with us a couple of our clients, Gabriel and Danny. Had a good day together so far, Ash. And before we get into it, I'm going to tell a bit of a story. One of the real features to me about IFTA, Ash, is that you get to meet some pretty cool people. And some of them are traders, some of them are speakers, but you get to spend some time with them. And I went in this morning, I sat down in the room, and I said to the guy next to me, I said, mate, are you speaking here? And he said, yep. I said, are you Guppy? Are you Daryl Guppy? And literally one of the guys we're here to speak is the guy I'm sitting next to in the conference today, which was just brilliant. He was just, as you know, he just reminds me so much of Jeff Pine.
Yeah.
He's just a super laid back. There's something on your WhatsApp for you.
Great.
There's he's just a super laid back, nice guy. Good to chat with during the day. He was in and out a bit. But we finished the day. I was leaving and the speaker was getting mobbed over in the photo area, and I was talking to John Bollinger's daughter about what we do and what she does and all the rest. And she said, I'd like to have a chat with your dad at some stage. And she said, well, look, if you can get him out of here, if you can get him away from the photographers, if you can get him away from this, you'll have no problem. So I'll have a chat with you anytime you want, just get him out of here. So I said, no problem. So I said, you talk to this person, and I grabbed him and I said, come on, mate, this is our chance. We can get out of here. And I wandered off, and I walked back to the lift and jumped in the lift and had a chat with him. And what a delightful gentleman, mate. He's
amazing.
I think he's 76. He invented Bollinger Bands and he gave them away. He gave the code away. He gave how to do it away. And, he's just continued to perfect it and improve it, and just loves it. He's on his way to his room to do his weekly analysis for his people. And he was just mate, if I could be 76 and be that kind of nice, relaxed, decent gentleman, I'll be thrilled. He was a wonderful man, and it's not every day you get to speak to a guy who Indicator's named after, right?
I absolutely right. And I think what's really coming through is that we've seen some very high-profile speakers so far today, and a number of them have name-checked him. A number of them are using his indicator. So when we're kind of, and it's kind of it's no mean feat in a way to kind of come up with an indicator which is so broadly used, universally used. It's not just in this room, universally used is something special. So if anybody can kind of, think of anything on their chart, a 10 EMA, a MACD, a Williams percent R, all of these indicators, which are standard indicators, John Bollinger fits in that band. That's how amazing what he's come up with is. That's the kind of gravitas of what he is as a technical analyst.
Mate, he was telling me that he came up with them because when he was trading as a youngster, they would hand draw the charts. We've heard that from Julian before, and he'd draw the middle on the chart, and then he'd get a piece of tissue and tie around his pen so he could get the outside. And then my face says, and he said it was, he said it was just awful, and he said he hated it. So he developed the program for Bollinger Bands to replace the tissue method of keeping the thing in place. Again, what a good man, mate. What was your highlight today? Day one, after it's having been in Melbourne last year, it's upper level this year. Few more people in the room, quite busy in there. Some really good speakers. What was your highlight?
There's a few things that I really liked, actually. I mean, we kicked off the day with Julius de Campaigner, and he was talking about kind of relative strength and relative strength on the charts. RRC, I think RRG, the graph. Sorry, so I was thinking C because of the chart. Which I find really fascinating because I like a relative strength index, as you know. A relative strength index indicator, as you know, and I find that really interesting. And that was really kind of talking about relative strength in comparison to other asset classes, also other things within the benchmark and other asset classes in the benchmark. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the AI discussion as well. Somebody talking about AI discussion, and while I was listening to him, I thought actually, what we have and what Peter and you as well have to be part of the design of the robot is very similar to actually what the guy's talking about with AI. The only difference is the AI is doing the after analysis and tweaking things off after the analysis is done. So this is where AI becomes really interesting. It almost sort of becomes it's almost thought of as this area which is much more advanced and much more expert than human beings. But that's yet to be seen. And I think that with the robot, actually half of the aspect of the AI that we provide with a robot is actually the same thing. It's done. It's just that we as humans are analyzing the data that's coming in rather than an AI. So that I found really interesting. Yeah.
Can I jump in for a sec? Look, I just want to thank those that joined us in the room on short notice. It's good to have you along. And just to be clear, we're going to do a review of day one of IFTA 2023, but we're not going to give away any strategy details or anything like that. That was, the speakers shared in confidence in the room today. We're going to give you a bit of an overview on it. The guy you were speaking about was Giovanni Trombetti, wasn't he? He was talking AI.
Yes.
And then I think later on, I thought Patrick Pfizer, I'm going to call him.
Yes.
Patrick Pfister also covered a little bit as well. Okay, so back to you, mate. So we liked the AI conversation. What else was good today?
Do you know what? I really enjoyed the Astronarchy conversation by Gemma as well. I find that whole approach to do with Astronarchy, I think when I first heard it last year when you brought Gemma to Bali, it was probably a little bit, it went a bit over my head. But I listened to him this time and I thought there was something else, something dropped into place. And I think to his defense, which maybe I missed initially, he's not suggesting that he's picking turning points in the market because of movements of the moon and the sun and the star constellations. What he's saying is that there is a pattern that when it lines up with technical analysis and fundamental data, it is very, very powerful. And anybody that understands and studies seasonal patterns in the market, I think they have to have an open door to this kind of thing, because there's many seasonal movements in the market that we don't really know why they happen, but they happen, so we trust them. So really, why can't somebody put a reason behind some of the movements in the market because of the movements of the moon and the sun, and we're all connected with it? Fibonacci numbers, are derived
I'm not sure if it's
from
you or
things.
me, Ash.
Are you missing me?
Sam, who's in and out? Is it me or Ash?
Oh, it's me, is it? Okay.
Well, we'll come back to let's do some short bits. I agree, mate. I thought Gemma was brilliant. He's just a fantastic presenter.
Yeah.
And one thing about he's got a record that sits with him that is bloody impressive.
It is.
I actually like the guy that spoke after him even more. I'm going to go with Yoshinobu Sakai, and he spoke about the same kind of thing about, to some degree, time-bound and price-bound targets. And I think that kind of stuff, or reversals, sorry, rather than targets. And just one of the things, right? If you're picking a reversal area, you can call it a reversal or a target because it's a target for one side and it's a reversal for the other. It's a turning point in the market. And this is far more mathematical, I guess, far more, still quite in-depth technically, but interesting. I think, picking turning points in the market is one of those age-old, Gemma spoke about it as well.
Yes.
It's just an age-old battle, right? If you can pick turning points in the market, life's going to go okay, right?
Yes, and what I think one of the other sort of takeaways of the day, and I think it probably will be of the weekend, is that everybody ultimately is trying to achieve the same thing. Everybody's trying to sort of figure out the best place to enter the market and the best place to and the best place to exit the market. And much of what we've learned so far is really different ways and different approaches of how people potentially come to the same conclusion. But there will be obviously sort of like arguments about where those particular places are. But ultimately, it's the same conclusion as in where do I get in and where do I get out. And I think what's quite heartening from when you watch people like this is that these guys are all highly qualified. These are CMT. These are all technicians of the highest level. But actually, what's very heartening is that they're only doing things that we, as everyday professional traders, are also doing. It's just that we haven't written a paper on it. So it doesn't mean that anybody that's trying to establish themselves as a trader, everybody should feel confident that as long as they go down an approach, as long as they really test an approach and thoroughly understand an approach, it's as valid as everybody else's, as long as it works, of course. Then it is as valid as everybody else's, and that's why we get different approaches in the market.
Yeah, I like the topic for this one as well, Ash. This unifying approach for the chase for alpha. Alpha being return, if you like, in simple language, the return above the rate of inflation would be a reasonable description of alpha. And about cooperating on the pathway towards that, and borrowing from, borrowing a little bit from this guy and borrowing a little bit from that guy.
Yeah,
I'll definitely be having a look at some of the calculations they use for reversals in the market. I'm looking forward to still Bollinger and Guppy, though, the big ones for me. Ron Williams, some big speakers still to come. But I'm really looking forward to trying some of the stuff we heard about today. Mate, what did you think of Patrick?
I really liked his stuff. Again, Patrick was really talking about turning points in the market that are derived from MACD. One of the things I thought was really interesting is the MACD-V, and also the MACD with no time delay. So he was kind of introducing something on top of something which is already been created, which I enjoyed. And there was a kind of 4-step process that he kind of talked about, and there was a couple of sort of things that he said within that 4-step process that I thought were actually very simple concepts, but people almost need reminding of sometimes, and one of the main one was to do with protecting yourself. How do you protect yourself? One of the most interesting graphs he brought up was a return of the S&P traded missing 10 losing days, 10 of the biggest losing days of the S&P, and he compared it with trading the S&P, but actually grabbing 10 of the winning days, 10 of the best moving days in it. And the most notable aspect of that is that you would have done better by missing the 10 biggest losing days than if you grabbed the 10 winning days, if that makes sense.
His argument for stop loss was brilliant, wasn't it? That if you have a stop loss here, you get hurt, but you don't get hurt badly, and if you don't, you get smashed, and it ruins your year. Those 10 days really destroyed the year for that year, right? Yes,
and that's the real point of it. And I guess when we're talking about guys that have spent a year or longer than that, coming up with a thesis an original thesis that they're presenting into the CMC. That's how you kind of get your qualification. One of your aspects is that you're writing a thesis and a new concept. So when we're talking about these guys that have spent so long, they've got 45 minutes to kind of put some sort of impression upon us, then they haven't got a huge opportunity to give us everything. But what they are all doing, from what I've got so far, is they're all adding just a little bit of gold dust. Then actually, if you kind of take each of them and just say what the gold dust is, note down what the gold dust is, actually you'll end up as a better trader. I'm not going to say a much better trader, because obviously you still need detail if you want to sort of be part of that kind of process. But you'll end up as a better trader because you'll have just that little bit more insight. And as you say, mate, the stop loss argument was fantastic. I thought it was absolutely brilliant, and I will use that one when I tell people about stop losses. That's something that I will describe. How somebody's done they've put it down on data, and it's in the chart, and it suggests using a stop loss is the right approach.
That's one of the things, Ash, that I really enjoyed his speech. One of the things I really enjoyed, right? He talked about his MACD and his this type of MACD and his that type of MACD. And at the end of the session, someone asked him, how do we get all the MACDs? And the guy said, well, you've just got to program them. And a lot of guys in the room at that stage are a bit lost, and I'm just like, well, how lucky are we? If we wanted those MACDs, we could send that equation to Peter and we'd have it by the morning. And we are so lucky with some of the people that we work with. And I think sometimes we forget that there's a lot of people in the room, they just go, well, I can't program that, Whereas for us, literally, it is it is 3 sentences on Skype. Peter, can you do this?
Yeah.
And we're going to have that stuff available if we want it in the morning. And that is, we are incredibly lucky to have that.
Yeah.
But I thought the last speaker, I thought was really brave. If there's about people trading, and he turned up and he talked about gambling, and whether you're a trader or you're a gambler, and the way that gamifying of trading is turning up and affecting the way that people are trading, because they talk a bit about Robin Hood. When you took a trade on Robin Hood, confetti came down like you're a winner, like you're playing poker machines, and that it's impacting people's behaviors. And, he made a really strong case around the difference between being a trader and being a gambler. And I think it's something that, when you're teaching people like we do, we've got to keep a real eye out for, because the truth is that, teaching a gambling addict to trade is it's just providing a mechanism to destroy their lives. And most people have good control. And if you're watching this podcast, if you're watching this, listen to it anywhere, if you're having a problem with moving your stop loss away from entry, if you're having a problem with revenge trading, if you're having problems with massive losses, if you're lying about how much you're losing, misleading people of what you're doing, then please reach out and get some professional help, and do it while you've still got a house, do it while you've still got a wife, do it while all that stuff's still good, because it's a slippery slope from there. And I've only ever seen one guy come back. I have seen one guy come back from that stuff. I've only ever seen one. He's a pretty special dude. And if you're doing that stuff, be careful. I thought it was good on them for sharing it, and he made some really clear, gave us some really clear signs of what to watch out for people who are gambling instead of trading,
Yeah, I agree. And actually, it's kind of almost part of it as well. Inadvertently, many people are gambling because they're not seeking the correct information and the correct education. So you've obviously got the people with a propensity to gamble that are using trading to kind of extend that into what would be maybe seen as more of a professional kind of way to gamble. But you've also got people that, as I say, are inadvertently gambling. They don't even realize they're gambling, and the reason they're gambling is that they don't have the correct knowledge. We've got one of the quotes that Patrick said, and I'll have to paraphrase it because I can't say it word for word, but it's effectively, if you want to know the cost of education, check out the cost of ignorance. And it's something that famous people have said throughout time. So he was borrowing it himself, but that's the point. And he also said that, as a CMT, he's the president of the CMT in Switzerland. And the younger generation,
not
to
not the CMT, the CFTE.
CFTF, sorry, mate. Yes.
So yeah. The
Correct.
CMT, and someone just asked about that. The CMT, which is the American version, and we're at the IFTA conference, and their qualification is the CFT, and the MSTA, their qualifications as they come out. So there are two different organisations. One is accepted in the US, one is accepted around the rest of the world. These guys do the CFT, and this is the IFTA. We spoke to the guy from Switzerland who was the head of IFTA over there, right?
Yeah, that's right. He's the president. Yeah, and he effectively was saying that that the younger generation do want to learn technical analysis, but they don't want to pay for it because in their mind they can get it free on YouTube. And I guess that's the point. That's where the gambling aspect comes in. Sadly, people don't realize that when you're on YouTube and TikTok and many of the other sites, unfortunately, that information isn't. It's got no qualification. It's got kind of very little in the way of grounding. So if you're using that information to trade, unfortunately, you are probably gambling.
Yeah, I think I've got to say, Ash, there's a difference between taking unskilled risk and gambling because of it, and losing control of risk and losing control of your behavior with the knowledge that you've got. Yeah. And that kind of addictive gambling, which can, perhaps the addictive gambling is more likely to spiral out of control on people. I'm gambling in the back because I don't know what I'm doing. In a control, I think I do, so I'm doing it in a controlled way, isn't quite as destructive as some of the other stuff for mine. But, I think being aware of both is a pretty good thing. Mate, single highlight of the day?
Single highlight of the day. I think it would probably... Do you know what? I haven't really got. I couldn't say that there's one single one. I was going to say there was the Japanese speaker Yoshi. We haven't talked about him. I quite liked the way. I mean, he was sort of, his presentation was quite left field. He didn't kind of come on in the same way as everybody else. He was at first I thought I wasn't sure if he was joking, but I think it's because he was quite happy to make it really, really light-hearted. And his English wasn't the best, and he was quite open in saying it took me longer to learn English for this presentation than put the presentation together. And I actually really like that approach. He kind of lightened the mood in the room quite nicely, in a really really humbling way. And also his approach was of measuring market trends and measuring how long a trend may last and where that trend might finally turn. I thought that was really quite useful information as well. For somebody, but for people that are starting out, I actually thought his particular presentation might be one of the simpler ones to kind of first get your head around. So he may be one of the highlights. I mean, I have to say I have actually really enjoyed all of it, and everybody said something. So if I was picking highlights, I'd probably pick a line from each speaker, to be honest. But I did enjoy him,
mate. My highlight for the day was undoubtedly my walk to the lift with John Bollinger. It was really cool.
Yeah,
really, just having some quiet chat with him. Just again, a genuinely modest, nice guy, and that was brilliant to have some sort of, just quiet for one-on-one time. And my understanding is he did say to me he would see us at dinner. So I'll be late to dinner because I've got a call on some other stuff for the business tonight. So if you can catch up with Gabriel and Danny, and I'll get down there and see if we can catch John Bollinger as soon as we can. Mate, I'm going to go first on this, right? After lunch tomorrow is the highlight I'm looking for. We're going to go Bollinger Williams tomorrow after lunch, and I'm looking to there's a candlestick guy after that as well. I've always find candlestick guys quite interesting. Risk management, we've got a bit going on tomorrow, don't we? Behavioural biases in the market, calendar momentum strategy. That'll be interesting as well, mate. We've got a big day tomorrow, right?
Do you know? After today, I recognise that there's probably nothing that is missable. I think when I looked at it, first of all, I was picking out people that I probably want to see. Now I'm quite keen to see everybody.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, Ash. It's one of the things that we've all got to fit these around our busy lives and all the rest of it. But and also we have to be realistic about jet lag. Ash, no point in being there falling asleep. Right, you've got to have some sleep and have a break. But there wasn't one bad presentation today, right?
No, it was all brilliant. It was all brilliant, and I think everybody deserved their place on the stage. And let's see if it's the same on Saturday. By the end of Saturday, let's see if it's the same by then. But I suspect that the bar is probably quite high, and nobody will want to be the kind of first to kind of stumble into it and unprepared. And everybody would have seen today. All the speakers tomorrow would have seen today. So anybody unprepared we probably won't see them at dinner. They'll be making sure they work hard to get ready for tomorrow. But undoubtedly, I'm quite envious that you've managed to speak to John Bollinger in such close quarters. But that is a fantastic highlight for the day, and I'm really looking forward to seeing his stuff tomorrow.
Right, I'm going to try. Shouldn't say it on here, but I'm going to try. Maybe we'll get to have a quiet chat with John Bollinger in Bali next year. You never know. He does live in the US. It's a long way, and he's in his late 70s. Whether he wants to come out to Asia again, I don't know. But we'll be seeing if we can get him along to spend some time with us. I just love bringing along that kind of quality people. You just get great values, and there's so many people in this industry. You just when you find guys, you think he is just a decent man. You just want to spend some time with him. So I'll try and get him to Bali. I've got 7:00, mate. So I will. It's 6:00 in Jakarta at the moment. I've got a 7:00, so I'll see you about 7:30. If you're watching this live, thanks for joining us. If you're watching the recording of this, we'll be back. We're going to do this tomorrow at 5:30 or 6. Ash.
I think today this time's good.
5:30. We'll be back at 5:30 tomorrow. We'll try and keep it to about 15 minutes tomorrow. We will be reporting in on John Bollinger, Ron Williams, and plenty more. Any final word, Ash?
No, just really looking forward to tomorrow, and we'll continue to share anything that we get. We're gonna obviously sort of pass on as long as it's allowed, and we're not compromising anybody's information, which we will make sure we're not going to. But anything that we borrow, if you like, into our own setups and our own sort of systems, then we'd be quite happy to share it as we go.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for joining today, and to you that are watching live or online. Put in your diary around this time next year when we know where IFTA is. I was talking to one of the directors of IFTA today about where they're going to run it next year. They don't have a final destination. So they're not sure whether it'll be in Asia or America. Either one, I imagine we may well be there. I think that comment was from Ainsley. So if that's, I think I cleared that up. IFTA's qualifications are CFTE, Certified Financial Technician, and that's what these guys mainly are. And the CMT is the American qualification for Chartered Market Technician. That's what Gordon Scott is. And that's what John Bollinger is the American one. Most of the rest of them today are CFTEs and MSTAs, Master of Technical Analysis. Okay, mate, so have a good night. I'll see you in an hour. So you're going to get some more rest?
No, I don't know. My room's in a great spot in the morning because I'm right next to the pool. But in the evening, it's not secure like an area out there. So there's parties going on. No rest for the wicked, mate. And that's obviously what I've been deemed as.
Yeah, mate, I'll see you as soon as I can. See ya. Thanks, everyone. Bye. That's a wrap for this episode of the Learn to Trade online show. Keep your charts up and your trade savvy. For more insights, subscribe and catch us next time. See you in the next episode. Stay calm and make good decisions. The Learn to Trade online show is presented for informational and entertainment purposes only. The information presented should not be construed as investment advice. Always consult a licensed professional before making investment decisions. The views and opinions expressed on the Learn to Trade online show are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of the show's hosts, guests and sponsors. The Learn to Trade online show, its producers, sponsors and the hosts, Paul Botterill, Simon Williams and Ash Bill, shall not be liable for losses resulting from investment decisions based on information or viewpoints presented on the Learn to Trade online show.